Hello, welcome to yet another session in the subject of engineering mechanics. Presently, we are dealing with the chapter of simple stresses and strains. So, till now, we have seen the definitions of strain, stress, and how to solve simple problems. So, let us have a quick recapitulation of what we have done earlier. So, whenever a load is applied on a body, it offers some resistance. The resistance offered by the cross section is called the stress. Therefore, stress is load per unit area. So, whenever some axial stress is applied on a body, some uniform stress is induced, then that is called the simple stress. That is, at every point across the cross section, then the stress will be constant, that is the average stress will be there. Then such case we call it as a simple stress. Generally we apply loads axially either in the form of tensile stress or compressive stress. Compressive loads are tensile loads. They in turn induce tensile stresses or compressive stresses. When a body is pulled by two forces, then the body is said to be in the state of tension. So those forces which cause the tension are tensile forces. They result in elongation of the body. Similarly, when the body is compressed, there will be decrease in its length. Those forces are called compressive forces. The stresses arising out of the compressive forces are called the compressive stresses. So this we have seen, that is the body is pulled by two forces, that is the forces are in equilibrium, otherwise the body will be moving. So to be stable, the forces should be equal. So two collinear forces acting along the axis of the body, they are axial forces, they are collinear and they are causing tension. Here they are moving away from the body, both forces are pulling away from the body, therefore they cause tension which results in increase in length of the body. Similarly, in this figure we see that the two axial forces which are compressing the body, they are acting towards the body, they decrease the length of the body, therefore they are compressive forces, hence the resistance will be compressive stress across the section, across the cross section. When these uniform stresses are on the cross section, then the strain, the resulting strain, that is the change, there is change in length. That ratio between the original length and the change in length, we call it as strain. So in case of simple stresses, the strains will be simple strains. That strain we say epsilon is equal to epsilon, or generally E is equal to delta L by L. That is a, let us say this is epsilon. For simple strain to occur, we have to have some conditions, that is the material should be homogeneous and isotropic, it should be having the same area throughout, and also a uniform area throughout, if not throughout, through some sections, and also it should have simple stresses, that is the material should be applied, or it should be having the simple stresses. And also we have seen the Hooke's law, which says that stress is proportional to strain within the elastic limit. Therefore, stress by strain is a constant. That constant we call it as modulus of elasticity. It depends upon the type of material. So every material has its own modulus of elasticity. That is, whenever we put some force, stresses are developed and strains are also developed. Stresses and strains are linear within the elastic limit. Stress is proportional to strain. Therefore, every body has its own elastic properties. Therefore, modulus of elasticity is specific to the particular material. And also we have seen the units of E, that is modulus of elasticity, it is stress by strain. Stress units are Newton per mm square generally, and strain doesn't have any units because it is a ratio between change in length by original length, so it is a numerical value. Therefore, the units of stress will be Newton per, and the units of moment modulus of elasticity is same as that of units of stress. Therefore, stress and modulus of elasticity have the same units, Newton per mm square. So when a body is subjected to some loads, it deforms under the load. That is, they tend to increase the length, and simultaneously there will be decrease in lateral dimensions, the lateral lengths, that is breadth and depth. But here initially we are only concerned with the linear strain, that is the change in length by original length. Therefore, here if we see this figure, due to application of force, the initial length L is increased to some other length L plus delta L. So from Hooke's law, stress by strain is modulus of elasticity. Therefore, strain is equal to stress by modulus of elasticity, but strain is also equal to delta L by L. Therefore, delta L, we can say delta L is equal to PL by AE. These relations we can develop by using the basic relationship. Stress is force by area, strain is delta L by L or change in length by original length, and modulus of elasticity is equal to stress by strain. So therefore we get modulus of elasticity is equal to PL by A epsilon, or delta L is equal to PL by AE, or E is equal to PL by A into delta L. So simply by rearranging the terms, we can get delta L is equal to PL by AE. So we have seen some examples, some simple examples about stress, about strain, and also combination of stresses and strains, and also the modulus of elasticity. How to find the modulus of elasticity of a simple problem. So here we have seen another example of a hollow section, or the length required to the stress strain and elongation we have found for in this example, and in this example we have found the modulus of elasticity of the material by knowing the length, change in length, cross-sectional area, and the force. Similarly, we have done some problems using these three equations, that is the stress equation, strain equation, and modulus of elasticity equation. By knowing these three equations, we have solved problem up till now. Now today we will see what is working stress and factor of safety. So we have seen in earlier class the stress strain curve. That is, in a tensile stress, how we get the stress strain curve. So we have seen for ductile materials, we have seen the stress strain curve, that is the limit of proportionality and also elastic limit, then upper yield limit, lower yield point, and so on. So we know that every time we don't stress the material up to its limits, because it is not safe because material have different properties, and by only we can test some samples, so those samples cannot be extended to all the entire material, and also unknowingly we may put some load or some other things may happen. So we take the factor of safety, that is we don't use the entire ultimate stress or yield stress to design the elements. We take some factor of safety and we design for lower stresses, so that in case of any mistake or any untoward incident, or unknowingly if we put more load, accidental loads, then the structure should be stable. For that we use something called as working stresses instead of the ultimate stress or yield stress. That is, in case of ductile material, we point out the yield stress, and from yield stress we find the working stress by applying some factor of safety. Similarly, for brittle material, it will snap, so it doesn't give you any particular yield point. Therefore, we take the ultimate stress for finding out the working stress for a brittle material. So, if sigma W is working stress, therefore sigma Y yield stress by some factor of safety, or in case of this is yield stress is known. If yield stress is unknown, then working stress is equal to ultimate stress by some factor of safety for ultimate factor of safety. That is some other factor of safety we will take. So factor of safety is yield stress by working stress or ultimate stress by working stress. Generally in concrete we take factor of safety as 3, because there are different materials: cement, sand or fine aggregate, and coarse aggregate, that is the gravel. So we cannot, though statistically we can find out, but we cannot completely rely on the ultimate strength or ultimate stress. Therefore we take some factor of safety. It is like, sometimes you may observe that some triple riding, or sometimes 4 people riding on a bike. It doesn't mean that if bike can carry 4 people, every time we can use 4 people for riding. So it is ultimate that 4 people by riding a bike, 4 people riding a bike is ultimate thing. We cannot do it normally. So we have to think of safety. For that, only 2 people are allowed. So we are taking factor of safety as 2. That is, even though 4 may ride, but bike may be able to cater or bear 4 people's load, but it is not safe. So the design load is only 2 people, because it is not safe. We take consideration into the safety into consideration. That is, we consider the safety. Therefore we don't allow the bike or the structure to be loaded up to its fullest possible capacity. So that capacity, we downgrade the capacity so that the structure will always be safe to use. Therefore we use a factor of safety. So as I said, for concrete generally we use 3 as factor of safety, for steel 1.5 or 1.6 as factor of safety, depending upon the type of design you use, working stress or limit state design. Depending on several factors, we use some factor of safety so that the structure remains safe. So that is the concept of factor of safety and working stress. Therefore generally our designs will be based on working stress, not for ultimate load. That is, though the yield strength may be 500 for FE 500, we do not design up to 500 Newton per mm square. So we will take some factor of safety so that the design will be only a part of the 500. That is what we have to know. That is the concept of factor of safety and the working stress. We cannot use the ultimate stress or yield stress for design. We have to limit the design so that the structure is safe. Therefore, we use something called as allowable stresses or working stresses or permissible stresses to design the structure by dividing the yield stress or ultimate stress by some factor of safety. So we have seen a prismatic bar and also the only is bar with uniform cross section throughout. It need not be case every time. So every time there is no rule that the bar only a bar of same cross section is used to find the used and it is loaded. So sometimes we may need for generally shafts and other in mechanical uh, mm, components, we may use different diameters of shafts. For the same shaft we may have different sections with different diameters. So there will be varying areas in the shaft or along the same body. Let us consider a body. This is a body, let us say. Consider a bar made up of three portions. Here, for example, I have taken 3-4 portions. It may be n number of portions. So with cross-sectional areas of A1, A2, A3 and lengths L1, L2, L3. A1, A2 and A3 are its area of cross sections, and also L1 and L2, L3 are its lengths. So here we can say that the first portion is having stress of load by area, that is P by A1. So stress in the first portion is sigma 1, that is P by A1. And second section stress, in the second section the stress is, if you see the figure, because here the area of cross section is less, the stress should be more. The same, because this entire body is subjected to a pull of P. So at every section, every cross section, there will be a pull of P, but it is resisted by their respective areas. Here area of cross section A1 is resisting in the first part, and A2 cross section A2 is resisting, and A3, this small area, is resisting. So by seeing the figure, the stress in the third section, because same load is applied but area is less, therefore stress is inversely proportional to area. Therefore here the stress will be largest. Sigma 3 will be largest, sigma 2 will be medium, and A1, because of its higher area, there will be less stress in the first portion. So sigma 1 is equal to P by A1, sigma 2 is P by A2, sigma 3 is P by A3. Also, elongation let elongations in each portion is delta 1, delta L1, delta L2 and delta L3. We know the basic equation delta L is equal to PL by AE. Therefore, we will see delta L1 is equal to PL. P is constant because in all portions P is same, because axial load is applied along the at the ends. Therefore, the same force is induced into the in every section or every part of the bar. So therefore, elongation, because it is tensile stress, there will be elongation. Delta L1, that is elongation of the first portion, is PL1 by A1 E, and delta L2 is PL2 by A2 E, and delta L3 is PL3 by A3 into E. Because the bar is made up of same material, therefore the modulus of velocity is also same. So we can take out common terms P by E here. So we can say total elongation is sum of this elongation of each portion. So total elongation of this bar is this delta L1 plus delta L2 plus delta L3. Delta L1 is PL1 by A1E, delta L2 is PL2 by A2E, delta 3 is PL3 by A2E. Therefore, sum of their elongations is total elongation. Total elongation delta is equal to delta L1 plus delta L2 plus delta L3. If you take out the common so therefore PL1 by A1E plus PL2 by A2E plus PL3 by A3E, P by E, if you make it common, L1 by A1 plus L2 by A2 plus L3 by A3, we will get delta L. Delta L is P by E into L1 by A1 plus L2 by A2 plus L3 by A3, because P and E are common for all the sections. The load is common and also modulus of elasticity for the entire section is common. Therefore, we have to find the ratios of length by area of each section. Simply multiplied by P by E, we will get the total elongation delta L. This is how we will find the elongation or compression of a body with varying cross sections. That is, it doesn't mean that it is tapering section. For tapered section, it is not possible. We assume we have in the initial when we are defining the simple strains, we have seen that the bar should be of uniform cross section, or it should be prismatic at least to some section to give the average stress. Otherwise, if it is tapering section, that is gradually at every section there will be stress will be changing. So it will not be a case of simple stress. Here let us see one example. That is a bar of 1.2 meters has 3 sections of lengths 300, 400 and 500 mm. Then the diameters of the bar are, that is 50, 40 and 30 mm respectively. That is, the first section of 300 mm length has 50 mm diameter, the second has 400 mm length and 40 mm diameter, the third section has 500 mm and 30 mm diameter. That is, lengths are gradually increasing, not gradually, they are increasing, and similarly the diameters are decreasing at each section. So first section has 50 mm dia, second section has 40 mm dia, third section has 300 mm dia we have. So if the tensile force of 200 kN pulls the body, so whenever the force pulls the body, only tensile force is applied. That is, we get the tensile stress, therefore we get the elongations. The modulus of elasticity is given as 2 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per mm square. Earlier also we discussed that generally the steel material have modulus of elasticity of 2 into 10 to the power 5 or 2.1 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per mm square or 2 into 10 to the power 5 megapascals. Here if we go, this is the figure whose here 200 kilonewton forces are acting at the ends, they are pulling, therefore this entire section should get elongated, so that total elongation will be equal to sum of elongation of each section. That is, this 300 mm section has some elongation, 400 mm section has some elongation, and 500 mm section has some other elongation, because this elongation is dependent on PL by AE. Since P and E is constant, they are factors of length and area. So their lengths are different and areas of cross sections are different. Therefore, the lengths are L1 is 300, L2 is 400, and L3 is 500, and cross sections are 50, 40, and 30 mm diameters. Then the areas are pi d1 square by 4 is 1963.49 mm square, that is pi into 50 square by 4, and second one is pi into 40 square by 4, and third one is 5 into 30 square by 4. These are 1963.49 mm square, 1256.63 mm square, and 706.85 mm square. These are the areas. Similarly, therefore, we know areas and also the pull. Therefore, stresses on each part. Suppose we want to know stresses. We are directly not calculating the only elongation. We are also interested in finding the what are the stresses, because every material has its own strength. So whether that particular cross section is within the allowable limits of stress, we want to find out. That is, the tensile stress, can that cross section withstand that much stress. That is why we are interested in their cross sectional, the stress along the each cross section also. Here tensile stress in each section is sigma 1. That is, sigma 1 is actually P1 by A1, but P1 and P2 and P3 are same. So P1, P2, P3 are constant, so we can write it as P by A1. P is 200,000 or 2 lakh newtons by 1963.49 mm. So it is 2 lakhs by almost 2000. So it is 101.86 Newton per mm square. Similarly, it is the second one is 2 lakhs by 1256.63. That is around 159.15 newtons. Then P sigma 3 is P by A3, that is 200,000 by 706.85. 706.85 was the area of cross section of 30 diameter section. That is pi d square by 4 is pi into 900 by 4. So we got 706.85. Therefore, the third section is subjected to a stress of 282.94 Newton per mm square. So here the stresses are quite high. That is 101 in the first section, 159 in the second section. In the third section, which is having smaller diameter, it has 282.94, almost 300 Newton per mm square. So suppose if it was a mild steel, the section would have been failed. And also next we are finding the what is the elongation in each individual section. That is each part of the entire rod. So delta L1 is, we know, PL by P1 A1 by L1 E1, but we are not using P1 and E1 because P and E are constant throughout the section. Therefore, P is 200,000, L is 300, A we know 1963.49, and E is 2 into 10 to the power 5. Therefore, we are getting an delta L as 0.152 mm. It is very small increase in length, 0.15 mm. For the second section, delta L2 is PL2 by A2E. Therefore, here the elongation is PL2 by A2E, that is 0.318 mm. And third one is delta L3, then increasing length is PL3 by A3E. Therefore, if we calculate it, it will be 0.707 mm. So total elongation is sigma delta L, or delta L is equal to delta L1 plus delta L2 plus delta L3. Delta L1 plus delta L2 plus delta L3 is equal to 0.152 plus 0.318 plus 0.707. If we sum it up, it will come up to 1.177 mm. That is 1 mm for the entire 1.2 meters of total length. We are getting almost 1.12. Let us say 1.2, 1.177. That is 1.18 if we round off, or we can round it off to 1.2 mm. So almost for 1 meter we are getting 1 mm, that is 0.1%. 1.2 meters we are getting almost 0.12 mm, that is 0.1% of the 1% elongation. Here if we observe, stress is not directly proportional to strain only. That is, they are linear, but here for this stress of 101 we are getting 0.318, 0.152, and for 0.159 it is 0.318. For 282 we are getting 0.707. Here, from here to here, almost it is 3 times the stress. But stress is proportional to strain, but not the increase in length. So stress by strain is constant, but not stress and elongation. So elongation is dependent on stress and also the length. Because E being constant, we have this delta L is factor of P by A, the stress, and L, length. Here stress is dependent on area. So stress and length are all playing the role in this change in length. We have to keep it in mind. Stress by strain is constant, but stress is not directly related to the elongation. That elongation and also the initial length, they are dependent on stress, not only the delta L. That means stress is not directly proportional to delta L. Stress is proportional to delta L by L. That we have to remember. Next we will see a problem where body is subjected to, let us say, compressive force. Here, because we are every time we are taking compressive tensile forces, let us for a change take the compressive forces. We know due to compression there will be a decrease in length. That is delta L will be minus. Here a 300 kilonewton force, compressive force is acting on a section which is like a dumbbell shape. Let us say slightly it is like a dumbbell, not symmetrical through the y-axis, but it is somewhat like dumbbell shape, which has the middle part which is narrower than the other two parts. Here the length is 200, the first part length has 200 mm, the second part has 300 mm, and the third part has 400 mm, and the areas of cross sections are 600 mm square and 40 mm, 400 mm square and 500 mm square. These are given, so we need not find the areas of cross section, because if it is diameter is given in the earlier problem, diameter was given, so we have calculated the areas. Here the areas are directly given, so we are using them directly. Here lengths are 200, 300 and 400, areas are 600, 400 and 500 mm square. So by observation we cannot say which is having, we can say which area is having more stress, because the same 300 kilonewtons is acting along three sections of 600, 400 and 500. So automatically 300 kilonewtons by 400, this area, as area is small, there should be more stress, and 500 will have the medium stress, and 600 will be having less stress because of its highest area. But elongation we cannot expect, because they are related to both area, stress, area and also the length. So by observation, by simple observation, we cannot say which part will give you more compression, more decrease in its length, which part will have highest or least decrease in length. That we cannot simply estimate. We have to calculate. Here L1 is 200 mm. Here the L1 is 200, L2 is 300, L3 is 400. Three sections have lengths of. Areas of cross sections are 600, 400 and 500. So we know stresses are force by areas. Force in each section is same, because they are subjected to axial force. No other external forces are acting except at the ends. The body is being pulled. So those forces are induced in all sections. Therefore, all the sections resist those forces. So each section, depending upon its area of cross section, has its own stress, because the more cross sectional area, it has more area to more resistance to offer. Therefore, it is subjected to less stress. The smaller areas have, since only small area is offering the resistance to load, then the stress intensity will be more in the thinner sections. Stress is equal to force by area, so P is equal to 300,000 newtons by 600, that is 500 newton per mm square. Stress in the first portion of the rod or shaft, we have 500 newton per mm square. Stress in the second is 750 newton per mm square, and say stress in the third is 600 Newton per millimeter square. So here we see second area is stressed more because of its lesser area. Then that means there is a stress concentration or more stress on the second part, the middle part. Strains, if we calculate, if we want, we are not interested in strains, we are interested only in total elongations. Therefore, the elongation of that particular part is, we know delta L is equal to PL by AE. That is change in length. If we want to find out, delta L is equal to force into length by area into modulus of elasticity. Since modulus of elasticity is constant throughout the body and also the force 300,000 newtons is constant, we can say 300,000 by 10 to the 2 into 10 to the power 5 is a constant. That is, it is 1.5 into 1/3. So it is 0.5 mm here. The delta L is equal to 3000 into 300,000 by 2 into 10 to the power 5, that is 1.5 into 200 by 600, that is 1/3. So 1.5 into 1/3 is 0.5 mm. Similarly, PL by AE is 1.5 into 3/4, that is 1.125. The third part is 3000 by 2 into 10 to the power 5 divided into 400 by 500, that is 4/5 of 1.5. Then we get 1.2 mm. If we add up this 0.5 and 1.125 and 1.2, it is 1.625, 2.825. 2.825 is the total elongation of this body, this shaft, or some body which has different cross sections. So these are the two problems which we have done in this class. In the first problem, these three sections are decreasing gradually. Their cross sections are, in one section it has 50 mm dia, in the second section it has 40 mm dia, in the third section it is 30 mm dia, and also having the lengths of 300, 400 and 500 mm. Similarly, in the second problem we have seen a different section. The concept is same, only we have changed the cross sections and lengths. Actually, the formula and the procedure we follow to solve them is same. Only thing is, we have done for two different sections. That is, one is circular section with a given diameter. The other section is the areas are given. Maybe they are rectangles or squares, some other sections, but the areas are given here. It is 600 mm square, 400 mm square and 500 mm square with 200, 300 and 400 as their lengths. So we have found out stresses is equal to force by area, that is 300 kilonewtons by 600, 500 Newton per mm square for the first section. Second, it is 750 newtons per mm square, and third it is 600 Newton per mm square. That is the stresses. And also we have seen, if you want strains also, we can find out delta L, that is 0.5 mm by 200 mm. 0.5 mm by 200 mm, that is 1 by 400. That is 1 by 400 is 0.5 2.5 into 10 to the power minus 3. Similarly, we can find out for delta L2 1.125 by 300. So stresses will be proportional to strain. If we calculate strains, if we see this stress and strain, these ratios, stress and strain, they should be constant because E is constant. Stress by strain should be constant. Therefore, if E is 2 into 10 to the power 5 of entire section, then these strains and stresses, if our stresses are 500, 7.5 and 600, that is, if this is the ratio 5 is to 7.5 is to 6 or 10 is to 15 is to 12, then their strains will be also in that ratio, so that stress by strain is constant. So sigma 1 by epsilon 1 is equal to sigma 2 by epsilon 2 is equal to sigma 3 by epsilon 3. That should be equal to 2 into 10 to the power of 5. Suppose here we know the modulus of elasticity. So strain should be equal to stress by strain is equal to modulus elasticity. So strain is equal to stress by modulus of elasticity, that is 600 by 2 into 10 to the power of 5. That is 300 by 10 to the power of 5, or 3 into 10 to the power of minus 3 is the strain. That should be the strain. Simply by dividing the 2 into 10 to the power of 5, that is modulus of elasticity of stress, it is strain is 600 Newton per mm square by 2 into 10 to the power of 5 Newton per mm square. Therefore, it is 300 into 10 to the power of minus 5, or it will be 3 into 10 to the power of minus 3. Similarly, here it should be same ratio we should get. If it is 300 here, it should be it should be 750 Newton by it is 375. 3.75 into 10 to the power of minus 3. Here also it should be 10 into 10 to the power of minus 3. Then only we will get E is equal to 2 into 10 to the power of 4, or stress by strain should be equal to constant. That is what I want to explain you. That is, even if we calculate strains here, they will be proportional to these stresses, that is 5 is to 7.5 is to 6. That will be the ratio of strains also, because stress by strain sigma 1 by epsilon 1 is equal to sigma 2 by epsilon 2 is equal to sigma 3 by epsilon 3, that is equal to 2 into 10 to the power of 5. It should be. So with this, let us conclude this session and we will meet in the other session. Hope you understand this concept of bodies with varying sections, how to find the stresses and also how to find the strains. It is simple because we can treat them as separate parts, and we know how to find the stress, how to find the strain, how to find the elongation. Simply we know stress is force by area, P by A1, stress 1 is equal to P is constant throughout, so stress 1 is equal to P by area 1, P by area 2, P by area 3 are stresses in 3 sections. Similarly, we know delta L is equal to PL by AE, so P into L1 by A1 by A1E, or P2 into or P into L2 into PL2 by A2E, that is equal to the second elongation. The third section's elongation is delta L3 is equal to PL3 by A3 into E. It is a simple extension of the earlier problem which we have done. Very simple problems we have done. Those 3 sections are clubbed into 3 different problems. It is same as that. The first section subjected to 300 kilonewtons, second section subjected to 300 kilonewtons, third section subjected to 300 kilonewtons. We can find them separately stresses, and also separately we can find their elongations, and we can add them. It is nothing new. We can treat them separately. That is what we have done here. We are taking them separately, and we are finding P by A1, P by A2, P by A3, and also delta L1, delta L2, delta L3 separately. That is what, instead of doing separately, we have done in a same sequence. So with this, let me conclude this session. Thank you.